Okay, my friend, let's talk about the 3 most important strumming patterns that you need to know as an acoustic guitarist. In my opinion, if you learn these 3 patterns, you'll be able to learn new songs much more easily because you'll be able to recognize them. And just because the chords change, the rhythmic pattern may be the same. And that's a really important point to remember. When you're learning new music, you want to break things down into the smallest component part. So, if you have a song, right, it's made up of basically 2 elements. Either melody, which would be like a solo, right? And then harmony, which would basically be the chords. Okay, and then really the third part is rhythm. So, if you break it down into those component parts and then you take it and you say, you know, how can I even break this down into smaller parts, which would be note by note or measure by measure, what you want to do is, with these strumming patterns, is get the rhythm first without trying to play the chord, okay? Then you're going to learn the chord, then you're going to put the 2 together. But where people get all, tangled up is where they try to actually just jump in and start playing the chords and the rhythm. And it's like, oh man, I can't get my fingers to go where I want them to go, and I've got my right hand and it's not doing what I want it to do. So what you want to do is practice just the rhythm, and then practice just the chords, and then put those 2 things together. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So the first pattern is, let me just play it for you, and then I'll show you how to actually go about learning it. Okay. Okay, so the pattern is down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, before we do that, before we even do that, let's just tap the rhythm, which is now, obviously tapping it is going to be a lot easier than trying to strum it, right? Which will be a lot easier than trying to strum it and play the chords. See how I'm breaking them down into small parts? So that's a really good tip for you. If you can just break it down and just tap it like da 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 ba 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 be da bum ba bum bum ba. I once had a teacher tell me that if you can't tap it, you can't play it. Okay, so or you can clap it like. Okay, so that's the rhythm. Ya da 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 da. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to not try to fret the chord. Do not try to fret the chord, and I'm just going to play the rhythm. Now let me break it down even much more slowly for you. It's down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, and then the pattern starts over. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Now another tip is I'm not trying to play every single string on both downstrokes and upstrokes. On the downstrokes, I'm just getting these bottom notes, maybe the bottom 3 strings. And by bottom, I'm talking about bottom as in pitch, lower, right? The bottom strings are really these strings. People get this mixed up all the time, but the bottom strings are really E, okay, let's just number them, your 6th, 5th, and 4th strings. And then the top strings are your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, okay? Bottom and top, meaning if you looked at the piano keyboard, to the left would be the lower notes, to the right would be the higher notes. Okay, the bottom notes, in other words, the lower notes, are really these strings, and the top notes are the higher ones. Okay, so what I'm doing on the pattern is, on the downstroke, I'm just grabbing the bottom strings, and then on the upstrokes, I'm just grabbing the top strings. So that's how I'm going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, okay? And see how I'm leaving a space between the measures right now, because all I'm trying to do is get the chord change. Down, up, down, up, okay? Now I think about it, and I'm like, okay, where do I go next? Okay, all I got to do is move that ring finger over here, boom. Okay, and by the way, those notes that don't change are called pivot notes. Pivot notes. Okay, and then on this one I'm going to go down, up, up, down, up. Okay, now where do I go? Oh yeah, these are pivot notes, they don't move, and so I take this finger and I go back here. Okay. Then what you do is, you try to make the chord changes, you slow it down fast, or slow it down enough that you can make the chord changes with no pause. You can play it rhythmically correct. Okay, so basically what that means is you would go like, okay? Then, once you can do that, you just speed up the tempo. So I'm just going to speed it up just a little bit. Okay, with me? So you see how we took that simple chord pattern, the C to the A minor, then we broke it down just to tapping, then we did it just strumming with no chord, then we added the chords, then we did it very, very slowly, and then we sped it up. What I'm going to show you are basically two chords, two different chords, a minor seventh and then a sus chord. And I'm going to show you how to play them. I'm going to show you 4 total different chords. Okay, but 2 of them are going to be minor sevenths, 2 of them are going to be sus chords. Okay. These are really cool chords and they're really not that hard to play. Okay, so don't be like, oh, minor seventh, that sounds weird. No worries, it's not going to be hard. So let's start out with the E minor chord. Remember this? Okay. To make any minor chord into a minor seventh chord, you start with a minor chord and then you add the interval of a minor seventh. Don't worry if you don't know what that means, because I'm going to show you how to play the chord. But just in case you're wondering, like, how do I turn a G minor chord into a minor seventh chord? Well, you just add a minor seventh. If I wanted to turn, a C minor chord into a C minor 7, I would turn it, just basically add the minor seventh. So don't worry about that. What you need to know is, if you take this E minor chord in open position like this, okay, to make this chord a minor seventh chord, I need to add 1 note, and that's going to be the minor seventh, which is going to be here. Okay, so then I have this sound. Okay. Doesn't that sound cool? So that's that E minor seventh, and I was just switching back to like a D kind of add 9 thing. But just going back from from E minor 7, that was just an example of how you can use that chord. Now the other cool chord is this A minor seventh. All right, so what we're going to do is start with our A minor chord. Okay, now to make this chord a minor seventh, all you need to do is lift up this finger, and I've got that sound. Okay, and that's going to sound great going over to a C chord as well. Check it out. So those are our 2 minor seventh chords in open position, really important. Of course, you can play minor sevenths in a bar chord form anywhere on the fretboard, but I just wanted to show them to you in the open position because obviously this is kind of a beginner's course, and I think this is probably the most important one to know as an acoustic guitarist because it uses the open strings. So E minor 7, A minor 7. All right, now let's look at 2 sus chords. Now a sus chord is basically going to be it's a sus2 chord, and actually sus4 chords as well, but we're not going to talk about those. We're just going to talk about sus2s. Sus2s, what you're doing is you're essentially replacing the third of the chord with the interval of a second. That's why it's called a sus2, because the interval of a second. Okay. So to make this chord, oh, and how you use it basically is anywhere you have a chord that's either an A major or an A minor chord, you could use an A sus2. So if you have a tune that's like, it's got this old A major chord in it, we could easily just make it an A sus2. Okay? And then wherever you have a D chord, you could easily make it a D sus2. Okay? Now, let me show you how to play it. The A sus2, let's start out with our A major chord. Now, to make this a sus2, all I'm going to do is lift up this finger and then let this B string ring out, and I've got, okay? And from A to B, that's that 2, that interval of a 2 or a second that I was referring to earlier. Okay, it sounds really good. See, I'm going from A sus2 to C. Okay, and again, I'm using this finger right here as my pivot note. Okay, so that's the A sus2 chord. Sounds really good. Anywhere you have an A minor chord or an A major chord, you can use A sus2. Now, finally, we have this D major chord, right? And to make it a sus chord or a sus2, all we do is drop out this note, raise this finger up, and we have E instead of F sharp, so it's going to sound like, okay. Okay, I can go from E, D sus2 maybe to a C. Or maybe a D sus2 to an A chord. Or even an A sus2. How about D sus2 to A sus2? Okay, so that is your E minor 7, A minor 7, A sus2, and D sus2.
Thanks for watching this video. If you're a serious guitarist who'd like to see an immediate and dramatic improvement in your playing, then I urge you to try my Acoustic Guitar Secrets course risk-free for 90 days. It's literally helped tens of thousands of guitarists from over 100 different countries massively improve their playing. So click the Learn More button now to watch a short video that explains what the course is about and how it can help you.